Favorite scene to shoot? Probably my scene with Lucas on the porch.
Are you okay?
You know, when I read it in the script, I remember getting chills. And so to have that moment with Lucas and to kind of play that scene out, it felt special. It was awesome.
Welcome to You Know That Scene. That was Troye Sivan talking about an iconic scene in a film we'll be discussing today. The theme of this week's episode is the representation of the LGBTQ community in popular cinema. And I think to kick off this episode, we all need to just get it out of the way and talk about the big gay cowboy movie in the room. Ang Lee's Academy Award-winning film Brokeback Mountain about forbidden love in 1963 Wyoming.
It's just a great love story, period. The chemistry between Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger is just wonderful. It's an intimate, it's a tender film. It is groundbreaking and trailblazing, and it just totally blew me away, but it did become a phenomenon.
You know that scene when they are in front of Brokeback Mountain. It's been parodied hundreds of times, but it's so heartbreaking, and the dance that the two have in front of this pristine location is just beautiful.
Come on, Jack, lighten up on me.
There's never enough time, never enough.
I wish I knew how to quit you. Then why don't you just let me be, huh? It's because of you that I'm like this. Nothing, I'm nowhere. Oh. Get off me!
I love the juxtaposition of them having that scene in front of the backdrop that is Brokeback Mountain, because the entire rest of the world, and when they re-enter the rest of the world, it complicates things so much.
I don't know if it changed the view for America, but I would certainly say it brought awareness on the subject to hopefully help people to learn to be more open-minded and accepting of those around them.
Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal, two straight actors, they were huge stars at that time. And that kind of opens up another question we face today, which is, should straight actors play LGBTQ roles?
I could get a lot of heat for this. I am in the camp where I don't think you need to be a firefighter to play a firefighter.
The choice to cast two straight actors, if that at all, cast a wider net and even got just a few people in the middle that maybe hadn't thought to experience any of this from a viewpoint different than their own, then that's a success, and that's what movies are for.
Which I think led us into the next film that we're going to talk about, which is, of course, Tom Hooper's Academy Award-winning film, The Danish Girl.
The Danish Girl is based on a true story. This was the first gender confirmation surgery that was ever attempted. Lily was a trailblazer. She was a person that made history. Her path to become who she was and to confirm her own identity was, I think, a really important thing to document, because if we look at basically trans identity to begin with, it starts with Lily. It starts with that real person. It took her struggle to now make it to where folks can embrace their actual identity and gender.
You know that scene when Lily is talking to the doctor and says, it's the only hope that I have. It's the only option that I have.
I could operate to make him fully a woman.
Is that really possible?
An irreversible change.
It's too dangerous. It's my only hope.
Mrs. Wegener, I do believe I can help your husband. But he won't be your husband when I've finished.
The sheer courage and the vulnerability are displayed perfectly in that scene, because he doesn't know, is this the end of my marriage?
It was a hard scene to watch because you understand where Alicia Vikander's character comes from, but you also understand Lily's standpoint.
You as the viewer see how that's not a choice, it's a need.
And our next film is Pariah. Why this film is so important is that it touches on so many groups of people that cinema is lacking.
I think anyone, not just folks that are part of the LGBTQ community, anyone, if you're coming of age, you're going to have that moment with your parents where you have to say, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to be. And it may not be what you had planned for me, but if you're going to be in my life, you're going to have to accept me for who I am.
Your daughter is turning into a damn man right in front of your eyes, and you can't even say
Stuff about that, Audrey.
Tell him. Tell him where you hang out. Tell him about your boyfriend's girlfriend.
What the hell are you talking about? Lenike, please, just go back to your room, baby.
Tell him.
Tell me what?
Tell him you're a nasty ass
No.
nasty,
Can you tell your mama that's not true?
You already know.
No, I don't know. You tell your mama it's just a phase.
It's not a phase. See, you should have done something. You should have done something. There's nothing wrong with me. Your fault. You haven't been here. And you ain't been.
For a young person to have that kind of reaction from their parents, it is really truly a heartbreaking scene.
But it's powerful for that character because she's claiming ownership of her life.
I love that this movie was more than just about coming out. It was coming of age and learning to be comfortable in her own skin.
You can always come back home. I promise you.
I'm not running. I'm choosing.
That scene is so powerful because it's a rousing moment of confidence, of control, of acceptance. This little film does so much, and it does it all perfectly.
Next, I am so excited to talk about a new film that is now out in select theaters, Joel Edgerton's Boy Erased, which I think is groundbreaking and powerful.
You know that scene at the very beginning where his parents didn't know. They had heard a rumor. They get a phone call. Your son has done something. Your son is something. And that kicks off their decision to send him to this camp.
I'm so sorry. I think about men.
And these conversion therapy centers that go on around the country, this is not a period piece. This is current. This happens now.
He sees the other students going through the motions and thinks, all right, maybe this could work. Until that scene where he steps out of the conversion therapy center and talks to this other student.
Play the part. Show them it's working. You're getting better. If it comes down to it, you may have to walk away from everything. Everyone. Unless you really think you can change.
And you see the realization on Jared's face.
Is this what you want? Who's gonna strike this demon down? Hit it!
Mom, I need you to come get me, please.
When he calls and says, Mom, I need help, that's her baby. It's so moving.
I love God, and I love my son.
We haven't talked about Russell Crowe playing the father, and you know that scene. It's really powerful and it's really difficult.
I've had to ask myself and God if I'm ready to lose you.
I don't want to pretend anymore.
I do not want to lose you.
I'm not changing. There's no changing me. You're gonna have to be the one to change.
In that scene with Russell Crowe, I think for a lot of folks, when we talk about acceptance, when we talk about belonging, when we talk about confirming folks' identity, it's not an on and off switch. It's something where you have degrees of acceptance.
That scene, it's the most pivotal of the entire film. And I think, personally for me, it's a powerful, powerful scene that I think when people watch it, could change a lot of lives. I mean, to have a film that creates social change, it doesn't get better than that, right? I'm so excited to see what the reaction to Boy Erased is for this community. So this was such a great conversation. These films are a shining example that LGBTQ stories are not just coming out stories. They are so much more than that. We've got more episodes in the coming weeks, so we will see you guys next time on You Know That Scene. Thanks, guys.